When you bring together a Muslim, a Hindu, a Catholic, and a spiritual person, what do you get? Connection. We're all brothers and sisters. We all need compassion, divine mercy, and healing. Together we stand, and together we are stronger. We have an interfaith talk for you. People will bring in personal life experiences and their personal spiritual beliefs. Come join us with an open ear and see how connected we truly are.
Welcome back to Holistic Healing Association. We have a very special episode. This is our final episode of a mini-series that we've been doing on divine mercy and compassion. We have a small group of people from around the world come together to be together to discuss what divine mercy means. What does the word compassion truly mean? How do we go out into the world with a compassion eye for others? How do we go out into the world with open and soft hearts? And how would this impact the world? How would it impact us, our family, and our communities? Let us have a ripple effect and go out into the world. God would call us to love one another with compassion and grace. When we really meet people where they're at, really listen, seeing and hearing them, we can learn and grow from people who are different than us.
I'm Mary Veronica Fitch. I'm 61. I'm from the United States, and I am a Catholic sister, and I felt called after I'd been a sister for quite some time, and I'm not going to go into the whole story. It's too long and complicated, but I felt called to start a new community that's dedicated to God's divine mercy. And it is about reconciling relationships with self, others, and God. And that has an emphasis on protecting children from evil, but we found we couldn't protect children from evil without helping marriages. We couldn't really help marriages or help we teach like that. We work on parenting and things like that as well. I'm a trauma-informed life and coach, and I use somatic processing. I also use Catholic spiritual direction, and actually some things from the animal training, because I have a background with the animals. We use our farm as we started what's called the Franciscan Congregation of Divine Mercy, and we have this Merciful Heart of Jesus farm where we work with the families and children in 3 different ways. One is the more intense trauma-informed life coaching and somatic processing and spiritual direction. And then the second one would be like with animals, working especially with training, with positive reinforcement training. And then, which it can be extremely healing. And then everything is about relationships in the end. And then the third one is what we call farm fun. And in farm fun, we use nature as therapy, and arts and crafts, and interaction with other children and families. And our goal in the end is to rebuild culture by rebuilding the family in the end, but we have to do that by reconciling these relationships and coming at peace with ourself, accepting and loving all parts of ourself, and then our family and everybody, and that will lead us to God.
Thank you so much. Nikki, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you. Beautiful, Mother Mary. That was amazing. I'm just really taking that in. My name's Nikki. I am a mother of 2. I call myself a curious learner or a life learner. So I like learning about lots of different things. I'm loving this. Thank you for having us today. So I have a background with lots of different spiritual stuff, so it's hard to put into one word what denomination or faith I come from. It's kind of a bit of everything. So I have training in spiritual life coaching. I grew up Christian, so that's very fundamental underneath everything. I have other energetic trainings as well in vortex healing, and I'm an embodied processing practitioner as well, and I'm just doing level 2 at the moment. So yeah, I'm very curious to hear what the discussion brings today as well.
Thank you.
I can go next, I guess. Hello, my name is Virjani Vyas. I am basically from India, living in Canada at the moment. I'm a practicing Hindu, and my background is in software development. So I've been in the industry for about 10 years now. I'm also very much interested in teaching and research. So I'm doing my PhD at University of Waterloo. And I live here with my wife and my son. So that's a bit about myself.
I'll go next. My name is Mitch. I'm a mom of two. You can see one of them here. I'm from the Philippines. I also have a background in technology, having worked in technology for I think almost like 18 to 20 years. And I'm a Catholic.
Hi, I'm Tassine Rizvi. I am mother of 5, first and foremost. Then I am also an integrative trauma therapist, which means I integrate loads of different modalities into the work that I do. I work for a few charities and I also work with private clients. I am a practicing Muslim, which means I practice the religion of Islam, and I'm from the UK. Lovely to be here with you all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And in case people do not know, I am practicing Catholic. Okay, so what I would like to do is I would like to start off with a loving kindness meditation prayer that we've been doing over the 6 weeks mini series. And if you would like to offer this as a meditation for yourself, or if you'd like to offer it up to God, that's up to you. But I invite all of my viewers to join in. If you'd like to close your eyes, and just invite you to have a seat, ground your back against the chair and your feet against the ground, and just let out a sigh. And you may even want to put your hand to your heart and give yourself a little bit of support. And if you're comfortable, I invite you to keep your eyes closed throughout this process. And just take a moment and notice what's happening in your body. And we can start. Keeping your eyes closed if you're comfortable. I feel safe. I am healing. I am at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards myself. For our families. My family is safe. My family is healing. My family is at peace. I feel love and kindness towards my family. And sometimes our family is not always necessary blood. Sometimes it's really close friends that we can really trust and rely and count on. So whoever those people are. For our community. My community is safe. My community is healing. My community is at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards my community. And for a person that slighted you, until we build the capacity, I wouldn't encourage you to bring in someone that's really hurt you. And you can think of this person for a moment. Think of a name. This person is safe. They are healing. They are at peace. I feel loving and kindness towards them. And just noticing, taking a moment and noticing what's happening in your body. If there's been a shift, if there's any sensations, what emotions are rising. And still grounding your feet into the ground. Your back against the chair, letting out another sigh and giving yourself the support. You may even like to give yourself a bit of a hug. Just let out another sigh and even sway back and forth a little. Keeping your eyes closed. And when you're ready, you can slowly start to open your eyes. And start to slowly look all around the room. And you may like to just give yourself a little stretch. Okay. How's everyone feeling?
Good.
Okay. All right. Would anyone like to share their experience?
Yeah, that was really beautiful. Thank you for guiding that.
You're
I
welcome.
love the part where you bring in, there's someone that has hurt you and sending them, the compassion and that they're safe and everything like that. I think that was, I didn't expect that, but it was really lovely. So I really felt that. Thank you.
I'm glad.
I do feel it was very peaceful, and it does. I think it helps calm yourself. Um, in every way. So thank you so much for that.
No problem.
I also like that it started with like, I feel safe. It's very nice and grounding. And obviously, like we all want to feel safe in any space.
That's a big thing for healing, is feeling safe.
I think that was really nice space you created there to start with. It was beautiful space. So yeah, thank you. I echo what everyone else says as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So the first question I have for everyone, including everyone watching today. What is your take on divine mercy? What do you believe divine mercy means?
Would you like me to start?
Sure. They've heard me way too much all week. The last 6 weeks. They're probably sick of me.
So for Muslims in general, and when I'm speaking, I'm not speaking as an expert. I'm just speaking from my perspective because there's different schools of thought, and I don't want to go down that road. So I'm just speaking from my perspective. And for Muslims in general, everything we do, we start with a phrase, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and what that basically means is in the name of the most beneficent, the most merciful. So it literally embodies everything that we are meant to do. The divine mercy is something we fundamentally, it's a part of us.
Beautiful.
Even drinking water before you drink, you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
That's really neat. I like that.
Thank you.
I can
Sounds
go
like
next. Sorry. Would you like to go first, Nikki? Yeah, for me, I think divine mercy is, I guess, I look at it just quite simply, in that God's mercy is combined with love is for all of us. It's for everyone, part of his creation, and it includes all religions because all of us are his creation,
We're all his people.
whether you're
We're
a
all,
sinner or not. Yeah.
I agree. We're all brothers and sisters. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep on.
That's just basically it. I think for me, it's just I look at it very simply, and it's just that God's love and mercy is for all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for me and my background, I guess I've learned lots of different techniques, but for me, the divine in general is very much it's a felt thing. It's not like a place to go or a place to get to or anything like that. So divine mercy is very much like what Taheen said. It's kind of a way of living. Everything comes from that place, and it's almost like being enveloped in benevolence and love and compassion. So for me, an example of that is especially when, feeling low, I can surrender into it, into the divine mercy. And it's almost like a parental loving hug, or it's just grace. It's like being wrapped up in grace. So that's what it means to me.
Everyone is having such good explanations.
So sorry, yeah, please go ahead.
Go ahead. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, so divine mercy for me is so basically this is something that I have always believed that we are all part of a same consciousness, a same basically large entity. And um, divine mercy is basically that acceptance, that feeling that anything you get is basically something from the same large consciousness. For example, one of the fundamental things, one of the main things that I always do when I wake up is before I climb out of my bed, I would ask forgiveness from the earth, because I'm going to basically step on you, because that is something I believe that even the earth is something that is part of the same entity. So divine mercy for me basically means that um, realizing that we are all ultimately related in some or other way, and we are basically all a part of the same large consciousness.
Thank you. Actually, I had a spiritual coach and they were saying similar, that it's through the consciousness and that we're all connected. And that's what they believed divine mercy was. And Mother Mary.
I mean, I think, it's such a huge topic, you can't really like encompass it all. But, as we said before, someone said before, divine mercy is God's love. But just focusing on one part of it, a lot of people think that mercy, at least people that I've taught, they think it's like forgiveness. But divine mercy is so much more than forgiveness. It's like giving gifts, like humongous amounts, plentiful amounts of gifts that God just wants to pour out upon all of us, more than we can possibly carry. And the immensity of that divine mercy for all of us in all different ways. That God just wants to pour it out on us, and in very personal ways too, for each person. So I can't encompass it, but just put one part in, I guess.
Okay, thank you. And does anyone have a personal experience that they have experienced with divine mercy that they would like to share?
I guess I see it every day I'm nowhere near a perfect human being. And God's goodness in continuing to give to me, divine mercy can't be earned. And to see him pouring his gifts on me when I make mistakes often, and I know that it's not, I sure haven't earned it. And, it almost, in a sense, when I look at my imperfections, it almost baffles me. God's goodness and love that just is so complete. And it's like, it's every day. I can't say I have this like, I've seen wonderful things worked in people's lives, and I sure love that. But I haven't had like some big experience, except for just every day what it means to me, in that just knowing how good God just pours out, and I know that I don't earn what he gives by anything. I don't know. That's my personal.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Shall I go? Okay.
Sure.
I was just gonna. My kids. My childhood. A lot of my life had quite a lot of trauma in it, and my kids always say, "You've got so many stories to tell, and you've lived a life, but it was a life with a lot of pain." And one of the Muslim beliefs is that the pain we have in this life, this is all just a test. And our next life, the afterlife is where we will reap the rewards of the pain we've had here. And so I think because it was such a deep belief for me, everything God still bestowed so much. Yes, I may have faced so much, but I was always blessed. Like my parents died young, but I was blessed with loving people despite having lost such, people that are so special to me. And so I always see that as divine mercy in the work that I do. When I see the healing from people who I've worked with, that to me is divine mercy. To be a part of that, it's so beautiful. And I love that I can be a part of that for so many people. So yeah, for me, yeah, that's what it comes down to.
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's interesting because I can kind of echo different parts of what everyone else is saying as well. You know, it's more individual little things, a combination of little things daily. You know, I was thinking before, part of divine mercy for me, gratitude comes up, and it kind of ties into what Mother Mary was saying. So yeah, I think for myself, my personal experience, I have felt it the most when I have been in the darkest places, where nothing, you know, doesn't seem that anything else is going to help me or to feel better or, you know, to get through anything. And I can track it right back to being a child and having that, the presence, you know, being able to unfold into that and that divine mercy there. And it's kind of like a natural place to go now, but it's the only real way that I feel that connection and everything when I'm that low, you know, and it can bring, and it's not a person or a thing or, you know, anything like that. It's a feeling. So yeah, that's probably where it impacts me the loudest. And as time goes on, you know, you bring it into your everyday, and you see it everywhere, everywhere. It's just beautiful.
Thank you.
I think I echo everyone's thoughts here, and it basically. So for me, one very personal example that I have or an experience of divine mercy was there was one incident where I was with my grandparents and my brother, and uh, my brother had just parked the car and forgot to put on the parking brakes, and he went off somewhere. And my grandma was right behind the car, and I was with her at that moment. And the car started rolling back. And I was so scared at that one point in my life that what's going to happen here? But for some reason, I have no idea why, um, I was actually able to just hold the car back, and it was probably just the
Oh, wow.
slope of the road or something like that, right? It's I don't think it was something superhuman or something like that. It was probably just some coincidence. But at that point, I felt like this is definitely divine mercy because I can't really think of any other explanation at that point. I would have been able to like find out other explanations afterwards for sure. But at that point, that is something that I felt, and I feel that all those coincidences, all those explanations coming together to make sure that my grandma remains safe, that's I can't explain it in any other way than divine mercy at that particular point in time. So that's just a personal example.
That's beautiful. Does anyone else want to share? Okay, well, I would say yes. So I've had struggles throughout my life, and similar to what you said, Nikki, I would call him God. He's always there. At your darkest, hardest times, it's God. It's God who you can really lean on. And I was talking to actually Nikki and Mother Mary about this recently, and everyone is going to have a different perspective and a different view. And really only God and my daughter know. But she turned 3 in March. And this little girl has so much faith. Whenever I'm praying the rosary for the last year, she's grabbing at it. She wants to hold it. And she's always happy to go to church. Never complains, always wants to go. For her 3rd birthday, I had her consecrated to the Holy Family. And a lot of Catholics don't know what that is, but it's basically giving your child to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, saying, she is yours, please take care of her spiritually. And that was fine. We did that at the church, and the priest said some prayers over her. And it was as simple as that. And I did not put her up to this because this was not even in my mind. But she told me maybe a month after that she wanted to go to church every day. And so we go to church every week, but I've been trying to bring her more often because she wants it. And her father is not in the house. He has some struggles, so he's not able to live here. So that cannot be easy on her. And just last week, it happened twice. One time I was out on a walk. I was letting the dog swim. And she got this expression on her face and just stared. And she said, "I see Jesus." And I didn't really think about it because she's 3 years old. I was just like, okay. And that was the second time it happened. I was like, okay. And I went home and I started thinking about it. And I'm like, is it possible? So the next morning, I messaged Mother Mary because I know Matt had said it in the first interview and it had not happened yet. And Mother Mary told me not to be afraid, that it is possible, and to believe her. And I wanted to check further. So I went to the church and I talked to my priest that day and I told him what happened. And he said, well, you do bring her to church, so it could be in her mind. It could be in her imagination. She could have had a felt spiritual experience, or she could have seen Jesus. So I was like, okay. And I started to reflect more. And as her mother, I can tell you that I have never seen her look at something like just directly in the air and say, I see a dog, I see a dinosaur, I see a cow, I see like a cat. Her imagination, she never makes up anything. So I went to speak to her daycare teacher because she's with me all the time. She lives with me full time. She's with the daycare teacher 2 days a week. I asked her, does my daughter ever make up anything? And the teacher said never. So everyone's going to have a different perspective and a different view. But I will tell you the expression on her face, it looked like she was looking at something or someone, and there was nothing there. And to me, I'm leaning towards believing that she did see Jesus and is a very innocent child that is very close to God. And maybe like she's open. And she told me, and I was just like, whatever, I'm letting the dog swim. I missed the moment. And a friend told me to feel it in the heart and to get out of my mind because I was like, what? And she's like, just stop. Just feel it. So that's, yeah, everyone's going to have a different intake on that. But really, only my daughter and God knows. And what does everyone believe? What does compassion mean to you? What does the word compassion mean?
Before we move on to compassion, can I just say that is so beautiful?
Oh,
Thank
you.
you for sharing that. That was really beautiful, honestly. And the pureness of that innocent child, your beautiful daughter, seeing absolutely gorgeous, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah, just on that point as well, also just wanted to say, like, don't just lean towards believing, just believe.
Yes,
Because
I
it
know.
really doesn't matter
I'm
what
always
other
like,
people are gonna
I'm
say.
always questioning, and I'm like, Mother Mary, same thing. She's like, Aaron. She's like, just believe her. So
Yeah, just believe. It doesn't matter like what whether other people would believe or not.
Yeah,
They don't matter. What matters is your daughter's experience. You also experienced it in a sense as well, just looking at her
just
and
looking
how
at her
she saw
face.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So just believe and have faith that it is what you believe it to be.
Well, thank you. And there's your beautiful son right there.
Yes, those are my divine mercies from God. Yeah, so I guess maybe I'll just start it off like on your question about compassion. Um, when you asked the question, and the thing that just popped up in my mind, and I guess and also in my heart, is compassion is just really trying to treat and see other people. I think most especially yourself, in the way that God would see you, or God would see his creation. I think most of the time we are the most critical and most hard on ourselves. And we forget just how God would see us, and give ourselves compassion, give ourselves that love and understanding in the way that God would. And again, obviously, that extends to how God would understand and love other people too.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah, I think very similarly with maybe some different languaging, but it's very much the same thing. To me, it's seeing not just people, animals, and situations and circumstances as a whole, in their best form, which is very similar. But it's from a place, and I find for myself anyway, the deepest compassion that I can have comes from a place of resonance. This is a place where all humans have some element of suffering, and so there is that we'll always share with everyone. I'm not someone who hasn't suffered or hasn't done things that I'm not proud of, and everyone shares that humanness. That's where I think the compassion can really grow. Is that whatever I see in you is also in me, and if we work on the compassion we have for ourselves, it actually helps to grow the capacity to have that compassion for other people and things and situations. Yeah.
So this is it's really kind of coming off yours, Nikki, but so come would be with, and passion would be to suffer with. So to being able to suffer with the person, that can take so many forms. It can take allowing, allowing the suffering that comes from being with another person to be, versus getting after the other person or whatever else. But being willing to suffer with them, and of course, feeling their pain. I'm not talking in a way that debilitates you, but at the same time, in order to have this compassionate heart, we need to be able to feel the other person's pain and to truly to suffer with them. Scripture, when one part is honored, all parts share its joy. When one part suffers, all parts feel its pain. And of course, that compassion draws us, hopefully, to help others, and to try to relieve their pain and suffering. Um, you know, so at any rate, and again, I think these topics are in a sense so big that I'm just going to take that little piece of it.
You're like, I could go on for hours.
Well, she knows I can go on for hours because she's heard me. So, anyway.
So compassion for me is I guess this is again using different language to articulate the same thoughts, but um, drawing from my earlier um, perspective on divine mercy, I would say, because I do believe that we are all part of the same consciousness, compassion is basically natural. It's just you looking at or interacting with somebody who is part of the same large consciousness. So it is just looking at a reflection of yourself. So uh, to me, compassion is foundation. You the it's the only logical thing. It's the only um, I would say it's the only way I can think of interacting with anyone is to be compassionate because um, it's basically somebody who is your own reflection. And this is true in all sense, in the sense that um, other people, as Nikki has just said, everybody has some humanness in them. Everybody has some suffering. So the the only way to make the world, I guess, a better place is to always look at others with compassion, no matter what the circumstances or the situation.
And that's great. And I will tell you that this guy lives what he just said. He has been so compassionate to my daughter and I on a consistent basis. Him and his wife is just, so I will tell you what he just said. He lives it.
Thank you.
And the other thing is the animals and even nature as well, to be compassionate, which I know we all do, we all believe this. I'm really sure we do, but just to mention it and for because this kind of strikes close to the heart for me because we work with the animals, and some of these animals, the children actually help to rehabilitate these traumatized animals, and to try, to understand that they have basically the same set of emotions that we do. And, that they too deserve that alleviation of suffering, and they too want that love. And I feel sorry for a little plant that, gets squished or whatever, we're all in this together. So.
Thank you. And has anyone, or would anyone like to share a story of themselves giving compassion or receiving compassion? I know one time, first, I think it's a lot of little steps every day, right? Just trying to show people compassion. It doesn't always have to be big things. But to lighten it, I don't know, in grade 8, from my confirmation, when I was in the Catholic Church, I was committing myself to God, promising that I'd follow him the rest of my life. And we do that in grade 8 as part of the class. For my confirmation gift, I asked my dad that I wanted to go to St. Joseph Oratory, and that's in Montreal. I'm in Ontario. And that's a church I have ran throughout my life. It's a very special place for me. And he said, sure, no problem. So my dad and I went on a trip together, just the two of us. And while we were there, the Stanley Cup playoffs were there. It was on. And the new stadium was up. And we wanted to get tickets. And we were trying to find the new stadium. And we accidentally ran into the personal trainer for the Buffalo Sabres. And we didn't know who he was. He was Italian Catholic. And he was like, what are you guys up here for? And we started talking to him, and we told him. And he's like, you guys are never going to get tickets. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to get you tickets. He brings us right past the bodyguards, right into the change room, and gives us box seats and gave me a hat. So Montreal It's almost like a religion there. They love their hockey. And when Montreal was cheering, or when Montreal would score, it was like, if you've seen the movie Jurassic Park, you hold the cup, the water's moving. That's how loud it was. When Buffalo would score, no one would cheer. I would go crazy. I'd be like, yeah, let's go Buffalo. And everyone would look at me. And my dad's like, careful, Aaron, careful. But that was an act of compassion because we were not going to get seats. And the man showed us compassion and got us seats, box seats. So compassion can look like in many different forms. Anyone else?
That's lovely. I could go if you like. So compassion, I'm blessed that I get to show every day with my clients and everything. But what I realized a while ago was that although I was there giving them compassion, it took me a while to give myself compassion, especially as a parent, because as a mom, I held a lot of guilt. Like I said, I've got 5 children, and my eldest two probably had the most emotionally dysregulated mother of the world. And it was only when I learned about attachment theory and things like this that I realized, oh my God, I've harmed my children without meaning to. And I could have lived with guilt. In fact, I did for a long time. And it took recognizing that I had no one to turn to ask for advice or anything. I did the best that I could in that time. And I apologized to my children and said, when you need therapy, please know that I am apologizing. But I had to be compassionate to myself to be able to advocate that for my clients as well.
Thank you.
Marvelous.
And that is, yeah, that's, I think, a critical part to healing, right? So it's really important that we show it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And embody it.
That was beautiful. I love what Taheen said. My favorite, I could probably have examples of bigger versions of compassionate acts of service and things like that. But my favorite parts are just little things like when someone lets you, cut into the traffic, or if somebody lets you go first in the shopping, you've got your hands full, you've got your kids hanging off you, and someone says, you can go in front of me because you look like you've got your hands full. Those kinds of things, the small things like that, they're really everywhere. They're everywhere if you know how to look for it. And I'm someone who will do those things, so I think I notice it a lot when I see it around. Or if someone is, especially having children with additional needs, they have, we have a lot of therapists in our life, and I just think, wow, the compassion that they have to be doing what they're doing, and their understanding and working with us as a family, and just every day, being able to be grateful for those people who help us with, the most basic things. So, my examples is like, you could stack them, and every day, as I said, turned into gratitude. It turns into gratitude very quickly if you notice it.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Anyone else? Okay. And how can we go out into the world and live a life with a soft and open heart?
I think we've all kind of touched on it over the course of the chat. Self-compassion is a huge part of being open, because we don't always, it's not always as easy to just, I intend to have an open heart and that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes there's stuff we need to work through, and our own compassion towards ourselves while we do that, I think, has a big impact. So I thought about this this question, and it's kind of a little bit of left field, but I think tapping into what brings your own, what brings you peace and joy. So like some sort of creativity, I think it really allows you to just drop everything and open yourself up, because you're in that, pure creator mode. You're in that joy, and it's very close to the divine, I feel, so I think doing more of those things that really nourish you and and ground you and help you to be open, it really can help you to build on that capacity to be compassionate to yourself and also, to everyone else.
Makes a lot of sense. And even doing things that you love. So if you enjoy spending time in nature, spend time in nature, right? Like embrace your passions. Is your passion art? Is that one of your passions?
One of them, one of the many, yeah.
Yeah,
And
nice.
it's different passions will come out at different times. It could be singing, could be dancing, could be socializing, could be hiking, could be painting. It's different for everyone, but everyone has something that they're gifted at or that they just feel free with.
Thank you.
So I have a so this is something that I've also felt when we're thinking about this, implementing this in real life. I've also felt many times that what happens is sometimes you're just in a situation where you involuntarily um, do something that you eventually regret. And at that moment in time, you uh, it almost feels like you are reacting, and you're angry at something, maybe you're hurt about something. So what I felt helps a lot is um, to know about these things beforehand and to actively monitor yourself and keep keep thinking about things that make you happy. Keep thinking about things that you love to do, embracing your passion, for example. But these things I feel are really important and are really essential to ensure that you do really embody the compassion that you really want to in the times that you really can't sometimes. So this is something that I felt
Thank you.
helps.
That was very deep.
Yeah, I can go next. Think when you ask the question, like, how do we go out into the world, like, with a soft and open heart? The very first thing that came to mind really is surrender. And honestly, like, that's how it's the only way I think that I've been able to go through the past couple years. Especially like when you're going through like a very tough and dark time. Um, just really surrendering to God and whatever He would bring to my life with that full knowledge of His divine mercy and compassion. I mean, just knowing that He loves us, that it goes back to that Bible verse that God's plan for us will always be to prosper us, and it will always be for our highest good. Is just what I'm. It's just what I'm holding on to, and believing each and every day, and knowing that whatever comes, God has a plan, and it's all part of this greater plan. And that's how I go about my day to day, with an open heart, because I know that whatever comes, even if like at first glance it might seem like a negative thing, but I know that in the end everything is going to work out because it's part of what God wants for us.
And that must give you so much strength.
It does. It does. Like it might seem like it's sort of like an unknown, like going into the everyday. Um, but I'm just really going at it like step by step and waiting for whatever um God would tell me next. So I know in my heart like what God has asked me to do for the moment. Um, and for the first time in my life, I don't have like a 3-year, 5-year plan. I don't have a long-term plan. And I haven't had this in my entire life. Um, I've always sort of depended on myself to like, plan out my life. So everyone tells you to have like your goals and stuff. But for the first time in my life, I'm just like, okay, God just told me what to do. And obviously he doesn't tell you like his whole plan. He just tells you like what the next thing is. And I'm just trusting that. He's told me what the next thing is. And then, you know, I'll see and I'll trust what comes next.
So you're giving yourself into God's hands.
100%. Yeah.
You can't go wrong in there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely can't go wrong. That's just my prayer every day. It's just my prayer every day to just follow like what his plan is.
Thank you.
I love
To
that because we had, oh, sorry. Who was
go,
going to go
no,
then?
okay. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I love that because we have an Arabic word called tawakkul, and that basically means to trust in God's plan for you. It's something that has got me through so much of my life, just knowing that there is a plan. I don't need to know it, but God knows it, and that's all I need to know. And so it just, yeah, it really followed on well from what Mitch just shared. So yeah, I love that. Thank you.
So going through a life with this, how can we live our life with a soft heart? I thought of 2 points that are kind of interconnected. One would be not to judge, and I just want to clarify what I mean by judgment. I could look at something and say, well, I did this, and if I objectively did it, I did it, or someone else did it. That's not judgment. It's just like, well, they did it. But well, I'm a bad person because I did this. They're a bad person because they did that. They're all these other things where we start giving motives to others and sometimes to ourselves. When I work with people, people say, well, it's my pride. And I'm like, okay, let's look at this first before you just say, oh, it's my pride. Let's look at it and say, and the people I'm working with, usually there's going to be quite a lot of trauma involved in that. And it's just like, so learning to not just make these judgments about something without, if it's my judgments on myself, it would be investigation, a really good investigation, an impartial investigation. And with other people, just simply not, okay, yes, they did this or that. That's not a judgment. It's whatever they did, but I can't say their motives. I can't condemn them off of just seeing the exterior because I don't know what's inside them and all that. Only God does. And they know quite a bit more about it than I do, And then that leads into, we talk about holding space for people. And, and I connect that with meeting someone where they're at. With the people when I'm working with them, it's usually in order for them to go forward, they first have to meet themselves where they're at and work from where they're at, not from where they want to be or think they should be or whatever else, but into learning to love themselves where they're at. And only then can they really process the things and begin to move forward. But giving that space so they allow themselves and ultimately allow others, or in this case, to be angry at them, to be sad, to be whatever those emotions are, and to not try to control those emotions and to accept them and love them, even, if they're angry at you or whatever else it might be. And those are just 2 points again. It's this such a rich topic, but just those would be a couple of ways, to help have the soft and compassionate heart.
Thank you.
I was just going to say that the tawakkul made me forget where I was going to go with open heart. I was actually going to say it's for me, when you asked that question, it was about seeing past the behaviors, the flaws, seeing the pain of that person that's causing. So following on literally from what Mother Mary has just said, that's for me, if we could all go through life actually seeing people for more than the surface level that we do see, if we could delve slightly deeper, it would be a nicer world.
I think you already do.
We try hard.
We try, we do. Beautiful. There's so many beautiful people here. So much love here.
And how do we look at people with a compassionate eye?
First, we have to want to look at them with a compassionate eye, to seek that. And I think suffering yourself, I know that one of the reasons that I so much want to help people is because of all the suffering that I went through. And then I could really understand suffering and suffering other people. And I really wanted to do anything I could to alleviate that suffering, you know. So, asking, praying, obviously. But if we go, suffering, and it's kind of been mentioned before, but, suffering is an opportunity to learn to love and to see those pain. And again, when we realize what pain really is, and then we want to help alleviate it as much as we can. And it's amazing what we can do with, God's grace and with some of these wonderful techniques that we all are learning,
I feel like for me, with the compassionate eyes kind of thing, we can only really meet people where we've met ourselves. So also knowing yourself, but being able to see, as we've talked about a bunch of times, has come up, the suffering. And wanting to be able to relate to people through that. And I wonder what's going on for them or what they've been through to have that coming up for them or whatever, which is very close to, you don't want to be, it's different from just getting everyone to walk all over you kind of thing. It's not the same thing as being compassionate. So also that means boundaries too. You have to have your own boundaries, which is, again, comes back to how well do you know yourself. And when you work on your own stuff, then, you grow your capacity to be able to meet others with compassion.
Yeah, I think what I wanted to say was very similar to what Nikki said, but in just like different words, in that showing compassion to others is like, I think it should also be a balance of not only showing compassion to others, but also a compassion to yourself. And that's in the form of boundaries. And so you understand people, but also make sure that you're also giving compassion to yourself and not like making sure that your boundaries aren't being exceeded, and that you still keep those boundaries. And everyone needs to be good to each other, regardless of what trauma they've been through.
Agreed.
I think what I feel about this is that you can only grow or evolve as a human if you see others with a compassionate eye. You cannot, if there is any other negative feeling in you, if you're judging others, then there's no place for you to actually think about the stuff that would elevate you as a human being. So I feel that it is essential to look at people with a compassionate eye. If and yeah, it is essential to do that, because that's the only way we as a human race can actually evolve.
Very insightful. You always go deep.
Can I just share two things that came up for me? And I can't even remember them now. One of them was, I don't know if you all saw Inside Out movie. And following on from what you said, Erin, about joy and sadness, and she says, where joy can only go if sadness comes too. And it's so true. If we don't know how to experience sadness, we don't know how to fully experience joy. And I think what also came up for me was I remember when I was young, we used to always be taught that treat others how you want to be treated. And that seems to be missing nowadays. And if we could go back to those basic principles of kindness, compassion, caring, treating people the way we'd like to be treated, the world would be a nicer place. And it's just the basics. It's not that hard. We can go back there. We just have to all want to.
It's one person at a time, right? One day at a time.
Yeah.
It can have a rippling effect. Thank you. And what can we do to go out into the world to meet people with a compassionate eye and mercy?
Well, everyone here has said so much about that. But, this kind of gets into my mission. So it's kind of like to realize that this is a mission. A mission, each person has an individual mission that somehow in your heart you're shown. But to realize that, to help our brothers and sisters, to have this sense of mission and the sense of the knowledge that I can make a difference, and not a little difference. And of course, even if one life could be changed, it's worth it. So that sense of mission and the sense of need, maybe, again, feeling the pain of your brothers and sisters and saying, they deserve a chance to be happy, to be whole. And, for us to learn to live in such a way that we naturally, even if we're doing no sessions or anything, we just live in a way so that they can learn to love themselves where they're at. First, I have to do that. And, then to just pass it on. It will. You talked about ripple effects. It'll pass on.
Well, thank you very much. Mother Teresa said, when we judge people, we do not have time to love them. This quote highlights the importance of compassion and understanding over quick judgment, meeting each other with a compassionate eye. Let's meet each other with compassion and grace, greeting each other with mercy and respect. May it have a rippling effect to our friends, our family, and our community. I leave you with a few questions. What kind of world do you want to live in? What kind of world do you want your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren to live in? And what are you willing to do to achieve this? What do you want your legacy to be? Personally, for me, I want to help make this world a more peaceful, safe, compassionate, and healing place for everyone, for people and animals alike. If you enjoyed this mini-series, I ask that you please subscribe. We will continue to be putting out videos every week on people's trauma stories, their healing journeys, and having expert guest speakers come and give us advice on healing. If you have any questions, please put in the comment box below. Thank you, everyone who volunteered during this mini-series. It would not have been the same without you. And thank you, everyone who is watching from your home. May you go in peace. God bless you all.